Welcome, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes, good. My name is Dr. Marcus Wenner, and my speciality is neuroscience. So that's been a fun part of my life. So just to give you an idea of what's going to happen here, first of all, a big welcome to you. Thank you for coming. And we're now going to have a video conference, which will last about 45 minutes, slightly long for a video, but still it's very interesting. And that's a bunch of people discussing things. And then after that, we'll be back here and there'll be a possibility to have a live session where we'll listen to you and answer and interact and unpredictable things. Who knows what might happen? And so we'll be able to answer your questions. So we'll leave the live chat, the written chat, open during this video. So when you have questions, type your question in that live chat. I'll have a look at it during then. And then when this video is finished in 45 minutes, then we'll be able to answer your questions and have a discussion. And we're lucky enough also to be accompanied by a few other interesting people, Mark, DNA, etc., who also maybe, if they want, they can join the discussion. So it won't be boring old me all the time, but it'll be you and us, which is more fitting for the universe, because the universe is us, isn't it? So anyway, okay, so without further ado, thank you very much, Lulu. If you can start the 45-minute video, and I'll see all of you after that. Don't forget to write, if you have questions or comments or whatever, write them kindly in that chat.
Welcome, world, and welcome to this special edition of the Raelian View. In this edition, we're going to be talking about the recent release of Steven Spielberg's new film, Disclosure Day. Not necessarily the film so much, but the implications of the subject of the film, a contact or an open public contact with an extraterrestrial humanity. What would that mean for the world? So I think we should go straight to our guests, and we have some fantastic guests this evening. We have, as always, we have Brigitte Basilier. Brigitte, as you know, is a PhD and the spokesperson for the International Raelian Movement, a scientist with 2 doctoral degrees and whose career spans cloning research and stem cell applications and gene therapy. Brigitte is a recognized pioneer in regenerative medicine and is at the forefront of longevity science and biological innovation. Brigitte also serves as the driving force behind Clitoraid, a foundation dedicated to restoring the dignity and physical wholeness of women who have undergone female genital mutilation, an organization inspired by Rael, the leader and founder of the International Raelian Movement. Welcome, Brigitte. And we have also a regular on this podcast, Thomas Kenzig, who is the president of the American wing of the International Raelian Movement. One of many interesting things about Thomas is that he was the first person in the United States to obtain a God-free citizenship, which is something I'd love to talk about further, because it's actually very in line with this subject. We have a very special guest, Daniel Turcotte, who originally studied, and you're going to have to pronounce this for me correctly, Daniel, kinethropy. I'm sure it's kinetics. Is that something about the movement, the study of the movement of the human being, and founded a school of physiotherapy. However, since 2017, Daniel has been working full-time on the Extraterrestrial Embassy Project, which is a subject that we're going to delve deeply into today. Which is an initiative of the International Raelian Movement. So welcome, Daniel Turcotte. And of course, Léon Melul. Now, Léon's a long-term leader of the Raelian Movement and the chief rabbi and spokesperson for the Messiah, which is the Messiah to those who are only Anglophile. And I'm Glenn Carter. I'm the president of the British wing of the Raelian Movement, and I welcome all of you who are watching. Let's have a lively, free discussion. So, without further ado, I think we should just go straight into the first question. So I'll pose this to Thomas, I think. Why do we need an embassy for extraterrestrials? Who benefits? And in what way will we benefit as a humanity? What is the benefit of having an embassy for extraterrestrials, which is the project of the Raelian movement?
Yes, thank you, dear Glenn. A few decades ago, people who believed in UFOs and extraterrestrials were called the conspiracy theorists. And it's interesting, a few weeks ago, it was in a Bill Maher show, where he was basically saying that those who do not believe in UFOs and extraterrestrials, they are the ones who are the conspiracy theorists, right? So it's interesting to see this change. And I think in society, a majority of people recognize that there are other beings elsewhere. And obviously then the big question, how do we establish that contact, right? So why an embassy? So I think, first of all, we have to kind of reflect on the kind of the paradigm we're in our society. I would say mainly in Western society, where we often think of the one who is more powerful can impose. We've seen that obviously in colonization, right, of Africa, North America, where the white people came and we are better, we're going to enlighten you, but through force basically, and killing lots of people, bringing something better through force, and this thinking that because I'm more powerful, I'm entitled to impose, and that is not at all the idea here. Our extraterrestrial creators, the Elohim. I think when we think of the why the embassy, in simple terms, it's a matter of respect and politeness. I think the kind of the metaphor I can think of, if you're at home, some of you may have children now, and I'm talking about a very small infant, but starting at a certain age, when you go to your child's room, you just don't walk in, right? You're gonna knock on the door and wait for the child. Yes, come in. Or you could say, well, I'm the father, I made you, and I own this house, I pay for all the bills, I pay for education, hence I'm entitled to impose on you and or walk into your room. But that's, so the Elohim, even though they are powerful to the extent we cannot even imagine, they tell us they can move around the entire solar system. So of course they could just appear and say, well, here we are on an ABC, right? But they say, even though they're so powerful, so more advanced, they say, we love you and you are our children, and we'd love to come back and meet you. So if you want, you can build this embassy. And this embassy is like yes, please come in. And I think that's, in that respect, obviously it goes both ways, right? So this embassy, they ask for it to be built on an extraterritorial piece of land, meaning no government, military, police can walk on there. And just come in there uninvited. So it's kind of like, I would say, a mutual respect. And I think for me, that is probably the deepest teaching, because many times when we think, oh, what are we going to get? A lot of people say, oh, when they come, what are we going to get? And the perspective is very much on the technological side. We can fly much faster, blah, 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 and all that, and kind of the engineering aspect of all this. But much deeper is obviously the cultural change. And I think also the movie, if you look at the movie Disclosure Day, right, where the kind of one of the main points is that in order for humanity to survive, obviously we need more empathy and kindness. And I think the Elohim kind of link their return with a very beautiful teaching. And that is a teaching of respect and love and politeness. So this building will be our sign to say we are ready. And of course, the Elohim have, when we think of the knocking on the door at our room, or the room of the child, the Elohim have done kind of awakened humanity for many decades. It's all these UFO sightings, the crop circles, and these are the so-called the signs in the sky. Remember in Jesus, supposedly in the Gospel of Luke, is in chapter 21, verse 25, 28, where he talks about these signs in the sky, talking about the end of times. And that's the time and age we're in. And so these are all these UFO sightings. It's just a very soft wake-up call, a very soft knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, we are here," and now it is up to us to say, "Yes, please come in," and for that we want to build this embassy.
Yeah, I tend to view the us building an embassy and the extraterrestrial creators, the Elohim, not coming without an invitation as a teaching. They're teaching us respect. They're teaching us how to respect, and they're showing us respect to not bang down the door and come in. I think it's a wonderful teaching that they will not come without an invitation, and I think it's a fantastic thing. Léon, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. And it's you are the chief rabbi of the Raelian movement, and I'm guessing this is a question pertaining to Judaism, which is the need for a third temple, or when the Messiah, quote unquote, returns, that will be the time when the third temple is built. What is the third temple? What's the relevance to this discussion of those prophecies, and how does it fit into us, to the world, and to the Raelian philosophy particularly?
Thank you, Glenn. Yes, well, third temple, it's the first was built by King Solomon. The second one was built by King Herod. And the third temple must be built by the Messiah. Automatically, the Messiah is the last Elohim messenger. He's the one that for hundreds of generations, Jewish people are waiting for. The problem with these people is that they imagine a certain Messiah who will come and do miracles and all that, and then they need to slaughter a cow that will be like a barbecue or like things like that. Today don't apply anymore to the times that we live on. And according to the Elohim message, this is the embassy they're looking for. Now, this embassy is where they can land and be welcome. The first temple Solomon built was to welcome the Elohim. Because of other events, or they didn't show up. And then the temple was destroyed because they were punished by something. After Jesus was sacrificed, who was the one that came, and they said that probably he was the Messiah. And then when he was sacrificed, let's say, in other words, well, they suffer another 2,000 years of diaspora, because the Jewish people are always the ones that have had many prophets that were sent to the land of Israel, over 40. All of them were either killed or jailed. All of them. Because they disturbed the establishment. They disturb what is the power of the religion. If Rael came and say, "I am the Messiah," oh yeah, God sent me. Today, there is no God. This is the problem with the people today, that they don't understand that Elohim, it's a plural name, which means in ancient Hebrew, those who came from the skies. The Elohim are our fathers from space. They want to be welcome, and they're not invaders. If they want to come anytime, they can just land and impose themselves. But this is not what they want. They want us to understand and stop believing what Jewish people are doing. today is just praying a God that doesn't exist. They praying the Elohim without knowing who they are. And it's about time they wake up, because they will be another diaspora. If they don't recognize Rael, this third temple, which is the embassy we want to build, it will be built elsewhere. Then Israel have no reason to exist.
Wow.
This is why we try, and according to the Elohim request, this embassy, or call it third temple, should be built close to Jerusalem. Now, as the people of Israel, as the government of Israel have refused 7 times our request, we're now addressing to other countries. And Rael dream is to have this embassy in Gaza.
Wow.
Because the Palestinian people are original Jews who were living in the land of Palestine or the land of Israel, that they didn't left when it was the diaspora, because of their family, because of their business, because they didn't want to leave their land, and they stay there. And they have much more right to that land than those who come from Poland, from Germany, from Russia, and from other countries, Ukraine and other countries, that came to Israel, invaded the country, colonized the country, and they proclaimed themselves Jews. Because originally, all those Ashkenaz who came from Eastern Europe, they converted to Judaism. They were from the Khazars, who one of their kings or one of their leaders decided to convert to Judaism, and then oblige everyone to convert to Judaism. And those Palestinians who stay in the land of Israel at that time, that became Palestine, they had to convert by force. First of all, they converted to Christianism, then they converted to Islam, and they're more entitled than any other Jews that are not Sephardic to be on that land, because it's their land. And it's about time we recognize that. And we must have peace on earth. And these people are the real Jews, because they have the chromosomes, they have the DNA, they have all that, which are direct descendants from the Elohim, from the son of Elohim and woman of the earth. And they are direct descendant, which means those who converted to Judaism and came from Eastern Europe, they're not direct descendant from the Elohim. They just converted, which means their DNA, their chromosome have nothing to do with Judaism. So they're not the children, the direct descendants of the children of Elohim and woman of the earth. They're not. So what is the right to occupy that land, pretending to be Jews, pretending to be the ones that have survived the Holocaust and all that, and descendants of the Holocaust, playing on that to we poor people, we have been slaughtered, we have been killed, they killed 6 million. And now we're doing the same to Palestinians, but that's okay because we have been suffering.
Indeed.
A Jew shall not kill, it shall not steal. That's in the 10 Commandments that were given by the Elohim to Moses. Do they respect that? No. So they're not Jews. They're invaders. It's very sad to reach that. And you can see the ultra-Orthodox Jews from the Nature Carta, they're pro-Palestinian and against Zionism, against the state of Israel. And they know the state of Israel will be destroyed one more, and there will be a new diaspora. We have been trying to avoid this. We have been trying to give all we could to all governments, all information to all governments of the state of Israel, as I was living in Israel for 18 years, nothing. They are called by the most important of all the Elohim, who is Yahweh. My people are the people with a stiff neck. They get slapped and they start again and again and again. And all the prophets that were sent by the Elohim, they were killed or jailed. You have a lot of examples, and I can provide many of them, but it's, the only meaning that the state of Israel was created was to welcome the last Elohim messenger, who is the long-awaited Messiah, and build the third temple, because he is the one that needs to build the third temple. We are behind him, and that's what is the characteristic of the Messiah. He must have people behind him, and he must be willing to build the third temple. But it's not the Messiah they're waiting for. They imagine someone that will make miracles, that will pray, that he will be a big rabbi, but they also know that when the Messiah will come, he will bring a new interpretation of the Torah.
Yeah.
And this is, when you read the messages and you take the original Hebrew Bible, it's the demystification of the Torah. And this is the message that our ancestors were not able to understand. And now we should understand, because we have the technology, we have science, we have everything we know, we need to understand and stop believing. Some people will never get that, because if you see how close is that circle, if you have Jewish scholars in any yeshivot, which are the schools where they study with rabbis, first of all, when there are, example, Ezekiel 1 to 128, which describe the landing of a UFO, they're not allowed to read it two students together. Just one, that they will not think about it. And if you have any question, you ask your rabbi. They're not entitled to read a newspaper. They're not entitled even to take one flyer from anyone. They only read what the rabbi asks them to read. Is that they put them in the bag, they close the bag, and that's it. You stay there and you don't move. So you don't think, and you don't decide of anything, and you don't talk about anything without that is not what we have been that you have been taught. That's all.
Thank you, Léon. Léon, I could listen to you talk about this subject all day. And what I find so rare is someone with the backbone to actually speak the truth and to speak your own mind. Because, as we know, the lobbies from from Israel, let's say Israel, the country, have controlled people's freedom of speech through lobbying groups, etc., through politics, funding politicians, and certainly now, even in Britain, it's becoming harder and harder and harder to speak the truth. In order to speak the truth, you have to be a subversive or a terrorist. You're classed amongst those terms. So it's humbling to listen to you speak, and I thank you for having that backbone to speak out.
Let me add something, Glenn.
Yes.
When I read the message and I understood the message, for me it was a revelation and a real pleasure and a freedom to understand what was the message of the Elohim. Then, because I was not respecting any the Jewish religion, I couldn't care less. But since I read the message, then I become a real Jew. And those who don't recognize the Elohim and their messenger, no matter if they're born from a Jewish mother, no matter if they're rabbis, they're not Jews. Because to be Jew is to recognize the Elohim as our creators and not as a single God. Because the Bible speaks by itself. It's all plural. And in the Bible, you have even verses that say, they're coming from a far land in the skies. So how do we call today people who came from a far land in the skies? When I ask this question, I say, oh no, it doesn't mean that. No, tell me what it means.
It's people are by and large very easily manipulated, it sounds, because life is busy. There's so many things that we'd rather not think about. We've got to get on with earn our money, do etc. etc. It's hard. It is hard to keep our integrity throughout subjects in life. It is very difficult, and I respect for some people who will say, but yes, all of this is may be true, may not be true. I don't know. But what if the extraterrestrials come? What if they do come? How does that affect me? Like, what relevance does that have to me? How will I benefit as the small guy in the street going to work, or the small, the single parents trying to struggle to make a living and put food on the table for their children? How will that affect me? Will it only be governments getting new technologies, new benefits that will never filter down to the small guy and girl on the street? Brigitte, what are your views on the actual benefits of an extraterrestrial contact for humanity? And when I say humanity, I know it will have economic effects, I know it will have government effects, I know it will have all of that, which are very complicated, and we'll talk to Daniel about that a little bit. But what are your views on how will we benefit? How will humanity actually benefit from an extraterrestrial contact, and why should we care if they come?
Yes, well, that is a broad subject. I mean, I would say probably the first one that we can imagine. I mean, not the first one that came to mind while Léon was talking is that Palestinian will be considered as a Jews. I think that could be like a shaking moment in our society.
Oh dear, can't wait for that.
More seriously. They have, according to what Rael explained to us, they have 25,000 years advance. And how can we explain 25,000 years of advance scientifically and in every aspect of life? It's very hard to comprehend. But I want to take an example that I often take, is that between the moment where we were able to fly, so the brothers Wright, who were riding the first plane, up to the moment we had the first atomic bomb, that was 41 years. 41 years between discovering the way to fly to exploding ourselves, right? So, and you have the same type of gap between the moment you have the first computing system in let's say in the 80s, where we're having all computers and all that, and now going to now where we have AIs with analytical power that are able to sway the direction of democracy. So we have, again, it's 40 years of science, of physics there. 40 years of physics, and we changed the life of everyone. Today we are all using AI, iPhone, and all these things, while it was not available 40 years ago. So to imagine what they could have done in 25,000 years is impossible. But we can imagine also, or try to figure out all the different departments in which they're going to help. And if we stick, for example, with physics, they obviously are able to transport themselves into this room without having a vehicle. That's what Rael says. They could come just here and appear. It is a relationship with space and time that we cannot imagine, right? So that's something that definitely will change our day-to-day life if we have access to it. The other part of physics that I like to highlight is the energy. Today, most of the suffering and wars have for origin somehow religion, but mainly the source of energy, the greed for energy, the need to control energy. And that's what is happening in Iran. That's what was happening in Venezuela, and it's been going on for centuries. The moment we understand what type of energy they use, because obviously they're able to transport from galaxies to galaxies, moving, as Thomas was saying, moving planets and solar systems. They have access to a universal energy that is probably likely available to everyone without any cost or effort once you understand how it works. That's my little imagination, but I believe it is likely to be so. So the moment we stop the energy race, and it is available for everyone, then we can care about something else and care about the creation of the Elohim and the earth and in every human being. So just that change in physics, or the understanding of physics, or access to physics understanding, will change everyone's life for sure. But I would say the most striking revolution will be in the biomedical field, because right now, obviously the scientists behind all medical experiments and applications have to be evolutionists. So even if you believe in God, it's kind of the background. You have to follow the evolutionist theories, according to which we are the result of random evolution. So therefore, you can remove tonsils, gallbladder, appendix without any problem when closing your eyes, right? Once you recognize that the human being is a masterpiece of creation and every part of it has been thought and designed so that it works as a whole, then you have a completely different take on health. And we have to remember right now in the most advanced will do some genetic editing. You know, you look at the DNA, you try to reprogram it so that it doesn't age as fast, or you can change, you know, so with CRISPR, you can remove the default gene and put a new one. That is toddler activity, you know, compared to what they did. They wrote the whole DNA. They know exactly from all ACG letters how it works and how it should be done, and also not only on the simple book of letters, but also on the epigenetic part. So it's a three-dimensional molecule, and it's fascinating what they have been doing. So having access to that, it's the end of degenerative disease. You cannot have degenerative disease if you understand the cause, and you can have access on how to change it. But it's also access to longevity. You have to remember that what is explained is what in the message they gave to Rael is that they can live about 1,000 years. And if you remember part of the Bible, it says that the first human beings that were created had a lifespan higher than 700. Some of them were 800, 900, Methuselah or Noah, all these ancient human beings reported in the Bible, but it's also in other legends in other continents. It means that when they recreated us after the flood, and I encourage you to read all these books, it's done, it's available everywhere. They limited our lifespan to 120 years. That means that they tweaked our DNA in such a way that we don't have access to the same longevity. I want to live that. I want to understand. I believe that we could have access to a longer life, and imagine what we can really create and realize if we accumulated knowledge without degenerative disease, without the brain fading for over 200, 300, 400 centuries. That's the progress we could do is unimaginable. And it's also one of the reasons they tweaked our lifespan, because we were going too fast and not having enough wisdom growing at the same time. And so that is, I would say, I mean, we can also talk about cloning and eternal life and that, but I would say the most important science that I expect and that will be needed at first is the science of supraconsciousness. Because all of these technologies that could help everyone, whether it's physics, biochemistry, chemistry, and the science of life, cannot be given to individuals who haven't learned on how to respect those and how to use them. You don't give a knife to a toddler, obviously. You wait until it has the maturity to use it. So to gain that maturity is what I call the growth and the awakening of the supraconsciousness, having an individual able to completely live every one of their thoughts under not the control, but the benevolence of the supraconsciousness that is always lit up and there. And of course, everything animated by love, because when we talk about supraconsciousness, it's actually the manifestation of love. And so that refers to what Rael has been doing for 50 years. He has been teaching us that inner engineering that will allow us to be the right teacher. And recently, more and more, he's telling us, you're now the teacher I taught you, and you are the teacher of love, of infinity. You are the one who can bring humanity to that level where we can meet with those who created us and also interact with them. And I think that's the biggest change changes will be wide on all aspects of our life, but probably the most important will be then access to understanding of happiness and love, and how we can actually live the life that they wanted us to live. That's my take on what that could bring. Very enthusiastic, very exciting, huh?
Yes, well, it's wonderful. And of course, without health, we have almost nothing. Without our health and our strength as individuals, we're in a bad position. So, help that the extraterrestrial humanity, the Elohim, would bring to us the ability to cure and to knock out ailments and disease would be an amazing thing. But for me, as in my life, in my profession, I've gone through times of great affluence and times of being utterly penniless, and that's just the nature of my work. So for me, just as a guy on the street, I want my replicator, my Star Trek replicator, a box in the corner that I can go to and I can say, I'd like steak and chips, so I can feed my parents who are needing care. I can feed my children who are needing care without having to go to work, that I can have a heat source, a water source, a replicator for food, and I can look after the people I want to look after without the need to constantly be scrabbling around to try and have sustenance for those who depend on me and for myself. Just a simple thing like that. I don't know, I say simple because I don't know how to make one, but it is a wonderful idea that we could free ourselves from economics, free ourselves from the power of the pound or the dollar, free ourselves from big corporations and companies that do absolutely control us and do their best to do so, to free ourselves from that. And I hope primarily that when the Elohim come and the extraterrestrials arrive, That's a day of freedom. That potentially is the beginning of true freedom for us, to free ourselves from the control of big governments, big corporations, and the greed of the dollar, the pound, the yen. You know, that has to stop, in my view. But we're a little way away from that. So Daniel, you have the huge undertaking of creating this third temple, this embassy for extraterrestrials. And as Léon said, that also is the fulfillment of a prophecy that will once and for all be an undisputed truth, that the world can recognize that Rael is the Messiah, that he is here for a purpose. He was always here for a selfless purpose, to help us, to nurture us, and to bring us into a new state of awareness, a new state of being. That a lot of that is falling on your shoulders right now, and I understand that's a huge undertaking you've taken on. You must have faced so many hurdles that you've jumped. You've been going for many years. How is that going? Where are we in that process? You know, what have you had to overcome? I know there's bigotry involved. I know there's, you know, lots of things involved. Where are we in that, and how are you doing, and how are you personally doing? Because it's a huge weight of responsibility that you're carrying. How is it going with the embassy?
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, everybody. Everything has been said. I have nothing left to say.
Great. Good night, everyone. It was lovely to have you.
No, thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. I think that at the planetary level, we are more ready than governments to move on. I think that if you talk with people in the street or your family, they will all agree that probably UFO exist. We are not alone in the universe. This is kind of obvious right now. But the real question is, what's next? What's next? Are we ready to welcome someone from another planet? When you see what's happening on the planet right now, we're killing each other because we have different beliefs or different color or different race, or I mean, we still have a lot of work to do, and this is one of the conditions, as I think Léon or Thomas mentioned, is we need peace on Earth before starting to think about welcoming someone from another planet. So this is a big challenge that we all have as Raelian, not only as Raelian, as a humanity. You know, the embassy project is not solely a Raelian project. It's a project for humanity. And my role in this is to try to convince one government to give us the authorizations that we need to build that embassy. And it's very simple. I mean, the smallest embassy on Earth has authorization. There's a protocol existing for embassies all over the world. It's the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. So, of course, discussing with governments, it's not easy, as you can imagine. It's the hardest part is to get to speak to the right person, because there are many, many layers, many levels before you reach the right person to talk to. There are a lot of people interested in money. The first question they ask is, what's in it for me? You know, so this is how the political system is working. So this is a big challenge to get to talk to the right person. But when I succeed to talk to the right person, either a minister or even the president of a country or politicians, I realize that one of the main challenge is to explain to them how it's going to happen. This encounter with the extraterrestrial civilization. And they have fear. This is what I realize. You know, there are humans just like you and me. And, you know, when they are politicians, ministers, or presidents, they want to be re-elected. They want to please the people they are supposed to be there to serve. So my main challenge, I would say, is to help them understand that the risks are real. But as Brigitte said, the outcome and the benefits are way bigger than the risk, because they're afraid to lose power. They're afraid that how the people of their country will react if they announce that they accept to build an embassy. The religious leaders, how are they going to react in these countries? So they have a lot of fears of what will happen, but there are a lot of benefits. And I think we are succeeding pretty well right now, because you know that right now on our planet, there is no protocol to welcome extraterrestrial. The only protocol to manage the diplomatic relation is the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. So this is why we decided with the Maitreya, with Rael, to propose to a country to organize an international conference to discuss a new protocol to be added to the Vienna Convention. Because in 1961, I don't think they were thinking about that one day we will welcome extraterrestrials, so we have to include some articles in the Vienna Convention to make sure it will go well. So this is the first step that we are trying to do. So it makes the pill a little bit easier to swallow, because you're not announcing right away that you will build the embassy. But let's gather countries together and discuss what could be the protocol to welcome extraterrestrials. It's very simple. We already prepared it. So just a few more articles to include extraterrestrial civilization to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. So what I can tell you today is what I feel and what I think is we are very close to find the first country to accept to host that conference. We are having right now discussions with a few countries very interested. And as you know, we signed a memorandum of collaboration with one country last year in 2025. So it's going very slow. You know, we are not necessarily their priority, but it's moving forward. So, you know, I'm very, very optimistic that very soon we will succeed finding the first country who will accept to host that conference. We are very close to succeed. And, you know, we have to do something, and something has to happen, because Elohim will arrive before 2035.
Yeah.
So if you consider that to build the embassy, it will take 2 to 3 years, to sign the authorization, the protocol and everything, maybe 1 year, so 4 years. So we have to be ready by 2030. So 2030 is tomorrow. It's in 4 years. So something has to happen. And I think that the movie Disclosure Day from Spielberg is helping a lot to help people understanding what's happening. I don't totally agree with especially with the final of the movie, which is a little bit tricky to me. But what I appreciate is that it's opening mind to something different, to something else, that there is something out there. So this is very, very important, because the big changes come from the people, not necessarily from the government. And we see exactly what's happening right now in the US because of the pressure that the people are putting on the government. They are disclosing some information. And I think that what they disclosed so far is the tip of the iceberg. I think there is way, way more to be disclosed. And the more they will disclose, the more there will be misinformation. But the intelligent people will see what there is there to see. So I'm very, very optimistic. There are some challenges, of course, but one by one, we are working to succeed, so to move forward. Yeah. So it's going well. It's going well. It's long. You know, we need patience. inaction. And patient is not my main quality. So I've been there for 15 years to help Maitreya to assist him to make this project a reality. So I can tell you that I feel I'm more patient now than 15 years ago.
Yeah. I'm sure every time you go to a dinner party, there's lots of advice you're going to be hearing about how you should be doing it, what you should do.
Of course. And you know what? I appreciate it because I'm learning too. I'm learning. Yeah. So it's a beautiful adventure. It's a dream. Our dream will come true. That's for sure. Yeah.
For what it's worth, you fully have my support. I say for in the small amount that can mean, you absolutely have my support, and I'm sure the support of every single Raelian on the planet. And well done, and congratulations for how far you've come so far. And I hope the amendment to the Vienna Convention goes well. If you don't mind, I've one question that comes about from this, and I think one of the key things for me, and I know we've been talking for 50 minutes, and maybe if we keep it brief, I wonder, just as an ordinary person, why should I care? Why should I care that we evolved, or God created us, or we were created by human beings? Which basically, the extraterrestrials are human beings. We are created in their image, and they are a humanity. Why is that better than evolution? Why is that better than God? Why should I care which one it is? And just quickly, does anybody have any insight into why it's an important acknowledgement for each individual to make why it matters? If not, I'm happy to answer the question myself, but it's always better if someone else answers it.
It matters to them, Glenn, because first of all, they hook to a religion, they look to traditions, and they look to a family. You know, since I became Raelian, I have no idea how many calls I had from friends, from Jewish people, from community, from this, from that. And that, you know, what you're doing is damaging our entire community, is damaging our religion. Because if you get out of it, we need to keep you in because we are one, we are a community. It's matter of, if you take, for example, rabbis or government, it's matter of power, and this matter of money. They're going to lose their income if it's discovered that the Elohim created us. There is no more place for a God anymore. So most of those people who believe without understanding, they have two crutches. One is God, one is the soul. As our philosophy, and according to the message the Elohim give to Rael, there is no God and there is no soul. So if you take those two crutches, people fall down. They don't stand on their feet.
It's very interesting in the sense that the way I see it, believing that humanity created us gives me power because I'm a human. I'm not beholden to some divine thing or some random anything. I have the power to choose my own way in life. I am in charge of myself. Human beings, I'm a human being. I relate to that. I don't relate to an ethereal God idea that has to arrive, is everywhere, but has to arrive on a fiery chariot in a big noise and requires me to bend down and worship and go to place and give money on a Sunday. You know, like, I don't relate to that. And I also don't relate to the random chance evolutionary idea either. I just think a human creation of human beings is a scientific creation. And so many people ignore the fact. They say that well, the only scientific creation is evolution. It's just nonsense. It's a nonsense. Human beings creating human beings is a scientific creation. It's not an ethereal mumbo jumbo. It's a scientific, tangible thing that we can, as a humanity, reach. So, having that power, having that strength, knowing that I am important, I am, free. I am an individual. I am alive. That is important. That does mean something, as opposed to it being random and it doesn't really matter because it was all evolution, just chance, and you'd be gone and it doesn't matter. It gives me a strength of that things are important. There is something important happening, and that is we have been given responsibility of carrying on humanity to another humanity at some point. That's a huge undertaking, and it's hugely important in my view. So for me, I think it's a big awakening to make the decision: do I believe in a God? Do I believe in evolution? Or do I believe in humanity? For me, it's a no-brainer. I believe in human beings, and I believe in all of us to make it happen. Anyway, thank you so much for the conversation. It's lovely. Honestly, I could talk to all of you for hours and hours and hours on this subject, and I really appreciate your candor and walking the walk, talking the walk, whatever that saying is. Well done, and congratulations again to Daniel, and keep going. Toi toi, as we say in the acting industry, which means good fortune. Hope things go well.
Can you hear me? Yes, good. Okay, well, thank you for the other people appearing. And so there we've had, just to explain things, to make sure it's clear, there's actually two things happening. There is the project of establishing an embassy. That's organized by the Alliance for Extraterrestrials. And that is anyone who believes in ETs. It's good for anyone, and so doesn't actually require any proof, because the main questions that we've had so far is what sort of proof do you have, and what is the purpose of the embassy? So presumably the questions about asking for the proof is what proof about whether Rael was contacted by extraterrestrials. So just to clarify, right from the beginning, there's two organizations. There's the Raelian movement and there's the Alliance for Extraterrestrials. The purpose of the Alliance for Extraterrestrials is to establish an embassy, and that is, one doesn't have to necessarily believe in Rael or anything else. It's any organization, anyone who can see that there are obviously people, we're not alone in the universe, and who realizes that we need an embassy, and we'll talk about that in a moment, why we need an embassy. That's what the Alliance for Embassy is, and that's what that little video at the end was actually the design of the embassy, the north, the south, the conference room, and all that. So that's that. And then there is the question of, do extraterrestrials really exist? Were they the ones who made humanity? What is their relevance to the Raelian movement? So that's another organization. And I happen to be part of both. And so do some people in the audience. So just to that. So it was Harmon. You had asked various questions. We'll give you a chance to speak in a minute. But I think the first thing, because I've had private conversations on that chat with various people, and it seems like the most important thing on people's minds is what proof? Well, in the same way that, why do we need an embassy? Why don't they just appear straight in front of us? I mean, that is a sudden, you have to suddenly, you're confronted with a concrete reality. It could be quite a big stress, change of mind, to believe in a God, and then suddenly someone says, there's no God, there's people like us who made life. It's quite, we'll talk about that in a minute. But so in terms of proof, they could just appear in front of everyone, but that's quite a shock. So they've been appearing as UFOs, as various sightings. They've left lots of traces for humanity so that we can begin to progressively begin to think, oh, I wonder if life exists on another planet. Oh, and if they do, why are they coming here? And are they interested in mountains? No. Are they interested in the sea? No. Maybe they're interested in life. Oh, now why are they interested in life? Why are they interested in human beings? So they're giving us a chance to work out on our own. It's the same with a child. When you teach a child, people used to just force the information into the child, like stuffing a duck, a goose, to get his liver. Now they realize that actually the best way to teach a child is to get the child to work things out on its own. And we are their children. So they have been in touch with humanity for centuries, right from a long time ago, from they originally made life on Earth. So the idea is that okay, so proof, it's a question, what is proof? Maybe the best way is to just give you my journey. My journey is, and then see if it resonates with you. My journey is, I was 10 years old. I was brought up in a Catholic environment. I even went to a Jesuit school. Jesuits is a type of very intellectual Catholic. And but because they were Jesuits, they were very into information. And so there was a lot of information I could glean there. There was the Bhagavad Gita, there was the Book of Mormon, there was the Quran, there was the Bibles, all this information I had access to in their library. And I could see a lot of people really believing in Christianity. So I thought, okay, well, I'll have a go. So I did everything to be a Christian for 2 months. And I thought, no, I don't really believe this. So I read the Bible from cover to cover. Then I read the Book of Mormon from cover to cover. Then I read the Quran. Then I read the teachings of Muhammad. And then I started reading over the Bhagavad Gita. Or then I started reading various mythologies from around the world, Hindu mythology, Asian, Japanese, Chinese, Viking, Irish, and Mesopotamian, and they were all saying the same sort of thing, that there were gods, who were a family. It wasn't just one God. Originally, even Christianity was plural, a pantheon, Roman gods, Greek gods. They were a family and they were related to each other, and they came down from somewhere above the sky. In fact, in Hebrew, the original word for God, which we have in the West, the Hebrew word was originally Elohim, which is a plural. It means those who come from the sky. But it was the same and that's the original of the word Allah. It's the same. But in all the mythologies, they either came from the sun, South American, or from the moon, or the goddesses, or from the sky, or from the other planets. They came down to Earth. They made life progressively more and more complex masterpieces of living art. And then eventually they made human beings just like us, just like them in their image, in fact, some places say. And then they began to love these human beings and they had sex with human beings, as you have all over the planet. In all the mythologies, Japanese, as you know, Hindu, I'm sure you know more about Hindu mythology than I do, but the gods can have children with human beings, and it's represented artistically as a slightly different skin color in the art and paintings, and they're demigods and semi-gods, and you get that in mythologies all over the world. So what's happening here? How come these people who couldn't communicate in those days have the same idea of God? So I was thinking, and I was also a scientist, beginning to learn science. So I could see that we were beginning, one day we're going to make DNA, we're going to be able to synthesize it. One day we're going to try and make simple life form, which we're already doing now. But this was when I was still at school. One day we're going to want to make human beings like ourselves. And then when we make a human being, what happens then? It's like when you have a child, you've got to look after it. You've got to protect it. You've got to educate it, help it grow by itself. And then you've got to have the courage to give it its own freedom. And so that's what's going to happen. When one day we're going to make life on other planets, and then when we do, they're going to think we're gods. So putting this together, this was in my teens. I was thinking, well, if we're about to make life in our laboratories and they're going to start thinking we're gods, perhaps that's where we came from. So this is an answer to many people's questions about proof. It's not exactly proof, but it's soft proof or soft evidence. It's allowing us. They left traces on purpose. They made humanity, they gave us knowledge, they left, saying they'll be back one day when humanity's level of knowledge has risen enough to understand them without mystifying. And they stayed in touch with humanity through their various contacts, which we call prophets. But they've existed not just in the West, but in the East, in the North, in the South, demigods, semi-gods, etc. So in a way, they've left evidence, and it's up to us to put it together. So Harman, Manish, and all the other people who've asked me questions, in a way, it's up to you to do that, to do the synthesis. I've just given you my own personal synthesis. And then why are they appearing as UFOs now? Well, it's a very gentle way of getting us to question and to put two and two together. So that's a little bit my answer to proof. Second is, as a scientist, I know a lot of scientists believe in evolution, but that is a belief. Me as a scientist, I believe in what is repeatable. No evolution has ever been repeatable in the laboratory, yet synthesis of DNA has been. And so, and adjustment of DNA has been demonstrated. So I believe what's demonstrated. I'm more of a hard scientist like that. And so to me, as a scientist, there's much more proof looking at how, in the days of Darwin, there was no electron microscope. There was, it was just supposition. He was going about in a wooden ship, Darwin. The world has changed since then. Now we know that life is hyper complex and hyper mechanistical. It's lots, it's like little robots inside us. All our cells are so sophisticated that they can't just occur by chance. It's you have to have 100 things happening at the same time for it to work. If not, it doesn't. So to me, that's my own form of proof as well, scientifically. So there's that question there. Harman, I will give you a chance in a minute. I do promise. I just want to give this introduction before I forget it. So then there's the other question of why do we need an embassy, which is sort of linked, because imagine if it's a bit like the film Disclosure suggests. Imagine if they were, I mean, how would they enter into contact with humanity without causing panic, without causing fear, without triggering the military arsenal, which is set at the moment to detect any foreign movement in the sky which is not from our own airspace and attack it? How can they peacefully initiate a loving relationship with humanity? They can't just, I mean, imagine if the people say, well, they could hover above the White House. Well, think about that. That means they are condoning, they are agreeing with the politics of the White House, which they don't. It means they're agreeing with not just the politics, but the religion, the belief system, the culture. And then the Russians will say, well, why do they land above, why are they hovering above the White House and not above my house? Well, maybe it's nighttime. So that means you can't hover above everybody's house in the daytime at the same time. So that's unfair as well. So, and then if they do, if we're not trying to shoot them down, or the population will be so shocked. The thing is, it's not just the UFOs, but it's the people inside them and what they bring. And they bring love. How many politicians have you heard talking about love? It's not really part of the agenda, is it? I mean, yet love is the most important thing. It's what binds the infinite universe together. It's what binds us together. And yet no politician talks about it. But this is what these occupants, this is what these extraterrestrials represent. They represent love. And in a way, that's a shocking thing. Because how much love is there in the world? What is the currency of the world? What motivates you and me, our culture? It's money. It's exchange. It's barter. I'll do this if you do that. I'll do this if you give me some money in return. Or I pay you to do this, so I expect you to do a bloody good job. And then I feel entitled to insult you if you don't do it. I feel entitled to whip you, to complain. That's the currency of money. That's the world we live in. That's what we're used to. Your job is to get food on the table, feed your family. That's a man's job. The woman has to have lots of babies and obey the man. So these are cultural norms which we've got used to and which we perpetrate. And yet, for these extraterrestrials, it's the opposite. Things are not done for getting money in return or something in return. Things are done for love. The way they design the human beings is to do things for the pure joy of giving and not to slave our life for a corporation, for a company, and then die almost half dead before we're dead. We're designed to enjoy our life. So this is counterculture. This is slightly shocking. What, women are equal to men? Women might even be slightly superior to men? What? Dark skin is better than white skin? No. Isn't the white race superior? No. In fact, these extraterrestrials, the Elohim, tell us that in fact the first humans they made had dark skin. Now that is quite a shock to white-skinned people who always thought that it was the white race who was supreme and all the other darker skins were just, I won't even say it. So these are cultural shocks, which if these extraterrestrials were to just say it just like that, it would traumatize humanity. So they need a gentle way of communicating, not just the UFO, of parking. It's not just a parking place for the UFO, a parking spot. It's heart to heart. It's from consciousness to consciousness. It's helping to enable humanity to elevate our consciousness, because they didn't design us to be slaves. They designed us to be free, to be part of, to join the infinite civilization existing in the cosmos, the consciousness, superconsciousness. Because we are part of superconsciousness. There was another question which was about this symbol. Now, in the West, this symbol is fairly shocking. Or unusual anyway. I'm glad to say in India, it's not. In India, you've got the great advantage. You've got so much evidence of the presence of extraterrestrials in your Hindu mythology. You've got Vinamas, which are these flying vehicles, which is the Elohim, and their craft. I've got lots of quotes here. I did live in India for a while, many, many years ago. In fact, I spent some time in the Kulu Valley, beautiful place. And everyone was telling me, yes, this is the Valley of the Gods, where the gods used to come down, enjoy themselves, enjoy eating, feasting, making love, talking, educating human beings, and then go away again and leaving their traces. And there's so much that you can look into your religions in India, in Hindu mythology. There's so much there. We've got someone here, Mark. He often lives in Sri Lanka, in Ceylon, Sri Lanka, whatever you want to call it. That's part of the adventure of where Sita was, I'm sure he'd be able to tell us better than me. Sita was kidnapped by, was it Rama? If I got it, it was a long time ago since I was there, and she was kidnapped in a stolen Vinama, which is a flying vehicle, which is often described as something which responds to human command. It's like a palace. It's beautiful. It's artistic inside, and it goes at amazing speeds, and it travels through the cosmos. And she was kidnapped by, was it Rama? I forget. Anyway, you know more than me. And you've got so many of these stories. Look at them with a new light. That's your homework. Look at all these things and think, how can that be in today's language? It was yesterday's language because human beings couldn't really understand these flying things shining brightly in the sky. But now reinterpret. That's your homework. That's enables you to discover things. So what is their proof, and what is the need for an embassy? Well, it's a gentle allowing humanity to access information, not just all sorts of information, philosophical information. They teach us about supraconsciousness. Now, humanity is designed, or human beings are designed to survive. You know, we need to get food, shelter, information, and we've got a part of the brain, the thinking brain, which is calculating A plus B equals C, and then we make predictions about the future. So we're not really living in the present. We're sort of living in the future, and A plus B and calculations, and this enables us to build buildings and to develop science, which is all very good because it means we eventually make robots, we eventually make automation, we make AI, and eventually we make ourselves out of our own jobs. And people are so afraid of that. You know, AI is going to take over my life, my job. I'm going to have no more money. Well, we can welcome that. because that is the world which we've been designed to live in, where we don't have to use our own thinking brain. The AI can become our external thinking brain and look after us, produce food automatically. Like Glenn was saying, eventually science will be able to make machines where everyone will be able to have, instead of a microwave in their kitchen, this thing you just go beep, 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 beep. And then what have you got? You've got the most gastronomic meal you ever wanted by assembling molecules, a molecular assembler to make amazing food. And as he says, that is the key to freedom, because we depend on society, on having to work. We sell our bodies, we prostitute our mind, basically to get food and shelter. But once this can be done automatically by these machines, by robots, which the thinking brain, thanks to the thinking brain, i.e. science, has enabled, then we won't need the thinking brain anymore. And then it'll be robots and external thinking brain which will look after us. And what do we do then? Will we get bored? Do children get bored? No, they get bored of thinking. They just want to play. They want to discover. They want to laugh. They want to be happy. And that's the way we've been designed by the extraterrestrials. We're designed to be happy for no reason, to be creative, to do the arts, to do music, to do theatre, to do love, to do things for others, to give pleasure to others. That's the supreme form of pleasure. That's the key to supraconsciousness, which is to be part of infinity. And that is the next stage of humanity. And that's why they want the embassy now. That's why they've appeared now, because they know humanity is at a turning point. We can either use our technology to destroy humanity, and that's the end of their, well, it's not quite the end of the experiment, but as when I was in the Kulu Valley, the swastika was always represented as the different ages, the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Silver Age, the Golden Age, and then humanity almost, if it destroys itself, then it reincarnates itself and restarts this process. If it doesn't learn, it destroys itself and restarts this process. That's the Kulu Valley take, which is close to the truth. Hopefully, this time we won't destroy ourselves. And that is what the purpose of the embassy is also, is to help humanity realize how to survive and not destroy itself, how to use this knowledge from the thinking brain to turning it into a paradise society. That's what we call paradism, a society where we could just be ourselves. Like Glenn said, free, true freedom, to be ourselves and to spend our time, which is the most precious thing, on things which fulfill us. And when it fulfills us, it fulfills humanity. Because we've been designed to be like little pieces of the puzzle. Each cell in our body is designed to help our whole body function happily. And the same way, each human being in society has been designed, when it's fulfilled, to be part of this huge organism, which is humanity. And then this humanity one day is designed to be part of the community within the galaxy. And that is superconsciousness, which we can talk about a bit more. So I've just touched on two things, but I just thought it, Mark, DNA, which is Dan, John, if you feel you have things to add, feel free. I thought I'd just give Harmon, if you're still around, a choice to comment, or let's just see if there's any more questions. Can I have any link to watch the movie Disclosure then? It'd be nice to give someone a... Oh, there's an echo here, sorry. I'll shut up in a sec. Is Harmon still here? No. Okay, well, Dan, DNA, it looks like you wanted to make a comment. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Marcus. It's so exciting, and I love to hear you speaking, Marcus. It's just like like a real seminar, and so much wisdom is coming out of you. And you took a lot of words out of my mouth, actually. I was going to say a lot of things, but about the proof, it's amazing. And in India, I encountered this very often, that people, they have a very scientific brain in a way. And when I'm in India and I wear my medallion, and people look at it when I'm in the subway, in a public space, they look at it and very, very curious. What's this? This is new. And the scientific part of the message, the idea that we've been created scientifically, it's very appealing to them. But at the same time, that part of their brain is very mystical. There's this kind of a God, above everything, and it's really strange. And but what I would like to say, to people, like the proof of God, and I would say, for me, there's three basic questions. Okay, where we come from, because all the purpose of science is to find where we come from, what our purpose in the universe, what are we doing here? So where we come from, there's only three theories, basically. Is the one that is, the scientists believe that my grandmother was a frog, basically, or a monkey, whatever. And then that's the first thing. And then then we know it's not possible, because it's, as you know more than me, but science has so much loopholes in that theory, that where comes when the eye appeared, when the amino acid first appeared, and there's a lot of links missing there. It's not possible. It's too much engineering and intelligence in the creation. It's not, cannot happen randomly. And the second is God. There's a God who's somewhere, create everything from nothing, basically, which is also, very difficult to comprehend for my rationally to understand that. And the other theories, like I love what Glenn said, is that we've been created by we are humanity created by humanity. I love this. Really resonate with me. We human beings created by human beings like us in our image. So what I say, people, the proof of that, it's just read the message, read the book, and you make your own decision, your own judgment, how you feel about it. They will not come from outside. Nobody, Raelians, we don't want to convince anyone. We just show the facts, and then you make your own mind. When you get new information, you awaken, then you decide, does that make sense or not, and then you choose. So that's the proof to me, is to the message is so full of wisdom. All the keys are giving to us there. And that's what I love about the message. It's like, it's all about love. They tell us how to run our world, how to run our government, politics, our economy. They give us the keys to education, to art, to happiness, fulfillment. And when you read the message and you apply, you look at that and you apply the teaching, I mean, your life is transformed, and it makes sense for you or not. But reading the message is really the key. Reading the book and make your own mind. And that's, I think it's the best thing. Believing in God is, in India, is like, for me, it's like you shed responsibility to a mighty supreme being somewhere. It's like shedding your life responsibility. So what the Elohim are telling us is that you guys, you are equal to us. We're equal to God. We are God. We are an infinite universe, powerful, creative human being ourselves in their image. And this is very empowering to have this teaching, to know this. So I hope people can, discover that, find this, and do your own search, and then you'll find, inside yourself what the truth is, really. Yeah. Thank you, Marcus. I'll let others speak.
Thank you very much, Dan. I'm just wondering, Sumon, did you have any questions? Don't feel you have to, but we're just giving you the opportunity in case you wanted to ask a particular question. If not, then I don't know, Mark, John, did you want to make any comments before we complete? Mark, looks like yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. As for proof, my name is Mark, and I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm responsible of Sri Lanka. And as of proof, there are many, many ancient sites in Sri Lanka. You have Polonnaruwa, you have Anuradhapura, you have Sigiriya. Actually, the guy, Ravana, that you spoke, that flew away in the Vimana, he landed on a rock. It's a very tall rock, and there's no stair to go there. Right now there is, but in the past time, there were no stair to go there. So he built his castle on the top of the rock. It's a huge rock. So they are proof if you want to see them. Okay, they are not on the newspaper, they are not on TV, they are not on video. But if you really want to see them, there are some proof. But you have to see that with common sense. For example, if we go to Anuradhapura, it's a very ancient city. And if you go in the part of the King Valley and the King Garden, there's a big carving on a stone that is called the Stargate. So this is a place where people used to go to travel to star. Okay, so people think that if they go there, they will be transported to another star system. It's a carving on a stone. Okay, so it is not a machine. This is not something mechanical. In the same way, in Sri Lanka, you have some country gate, a place where you go and you move from a country to another one. And there's a big board on the highway that says airport. So airport is a country gate. Okay. So if you go to Anuradhapura and you see that Stargate, it's a sign. It's a billboard sign that says this is the place where the what we call UFO used to land, and you take them to go to another star. So you need to see this proof with common sense and knowledge of the new technology that we know. And this is what I'm just telling you to look for. Look for ancient city with common sense, and you'll find your proof. And that's about what I had to add. Thank you very much, Marcus.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mark. That's a great conclusion. It looks like Sumon doesn't have any questions. Partha Sarati, I don't know if is a chance for you to ask a question if you wanted. Okay, no question there. So looks like we can conclude. I think it was a great meeting. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for being here. And for those who want to know more information, please go to rael.org. And there's much more information there. There's also there you'll be able to find links, even if you're not interested in the Raelian movement, but you're interested in the Alliance for ETs, which many non-Raelian but scientists are interested in. Then Google Alliance for ET, Alliance, and then number 4, and then ET. You can Google that, or go to the Rael, www.rael.org, and there's lots of links there, which you'll be able to find it. So I think that's it. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good life.